All right, it is 8:34. Welcome, everyone. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Cable Television Advisory Board for June 14th, 2004 in the Aldermanic Chamber. Apologize for the late start, but we had to wait for a quorum. So with that, we will go into roll call. Chief Buxton is not able to attend. Lauren Byers.
Present.
Roni Camille.
Present.
Andrew Sonoda is unable to attend, so he asked me to fill in his place. Justin Chapman, I don't see. Tim Cummings.
Present.
In for Joe Fay is Captain Hannon.
Present.
Alderman Jetty is not here. And he did say he was unable to make it, correct? Yes. Jennifer McCormick.
Here.
Nick Miserovich is here. Cole Morgan.
Present.
Greg Rodriguez is not here. Emily Vassar.
Here.
All right, we do have a quorum. Also present is Jeff Painter, Pete Johnson, Dan Young, George Russell, and Bob Bardis. All right, public comment. There's no one here from the public, so we'll continue. Is there a motion for acceptance of previous meetings?
Move to accept and place on file.
Thank you. Motion is to accept and place on file. Any discussion?
Yes.
Mr.
One
Roney?
minor edit on page 2. My title needs to be changed to citizen representative and not my employer.
Okay.
Other than that, we accept to move, place on file.
All right. Do you want to make an amendment then to the original motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that my name needs to be edited from whatever on page 2 to citizen representative.
Thank you. Any discussion on the amendment? All those in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Back to the previous of accepting the amended minutes and placing on file. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Communications, Mr. Painter.
Yes, we did have, my apologies, because we had advisories from Comcast. I'm sorry, Jeff Painter. And I duplicated 2 of them, so there's only 3, not 4. And you probably saw, if you looked at them, there's 2 that are identical. I got them on 2 different days. I thought it was a different, a different communication. So my apologies there. And we have a letter from Stacy Hines. Ed isn't here yet. He was going to be here.
He's not here.
All right.
Would you like to read it?
I can read it.
Please.
Yeah. Because it's about Pete Johnson. All right. NPT, excuse me.
No.
Oh, no. God, sorry. I was reading your report. Sorry about that. It is my pleasure to write this letter of reference for Pete Johnson, who has been the first and only administrator of the City of Nashville Education Channel since its inception in 2007. At initial meetings in early 2007, the priority among members of the Education Channel Committee was to hire an effective administrator to launch and manage this startup municipal channel devoted to the local academic community. Then and now, Pete has always approached his work in managing Nashville ETV with a steady hand and skilled eye from all perspectives. He is accessible 7 days a week, providing content on a wide range of classroom, school, Nashville Board of Education, and many other local and youth events and celebrations. We all have come to rely on Pete's expertise and wise counsel. Most recently, school district staff sought his advice in identifying needed presentation and broadcast upgrades to the board meeting room at Nashville High School North. Pete is invested in his work and a great asset to the growth and well-being of community television in Nashua. I am writing to share my confidence in Pete's work because I am retiring from the Nashville School District and consequently resigning my post as chair of the Education Channel Committee. Dr. Mario Andrade, I hope I'm pronouncing that correct. Huh? Andre. Superintendent of Schools, is aware of the need to name a successor. I hope to be able to share with you this decision before my departure on June 30th, 2024, and meanwhile, the channel remains in capable hands with Pete as administrator. And that is signed Stacy Hines, Director of the Nashville School District Communications.
Thank you. Are there any comments? Mr. Roney?
Mr. Chair, through you, Roni Camille. Well-written letter. I think thank you is not even enough to say what Pete does for this community. And I echo Stacy Hines' words, and I wish her well in her retirement.
I'd also like to say congratulations to Mr. Johnson. He does work very hard for the city, and it's good to see that there is appreciation out there for the work that's done.
Thank you.
All right. Motion for the communications?
Jeff had his hand up.
Oh, I'm
too.
sorry.
No,
Mr.
I was
Painter?
just going to say, Jeff Painter, Stacy was spot on with this. It's just absolutely exactly describes Pete.
All right. So is there a motion for communications? Ms. McCormick?
Jennifer McCormick, move to accept and place on file.
Okay, motion is to approve and place on file. Any discussion? All those that approve?
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Motion passes. Mr. Painter?
Okay, Jeff Painter. Excuse me. The current operating account 2505 is $295,528. Our expenses for May 2024, including salaries and facility operations, totaled $40,381. Excuse me, we had 6,294 cable casts total between March 2024 and June 2024. That would be 162 live events, and of this, public had 28, education had 54, and government 51, and our new HD channel had 29. We had 843 local first runs, and of this we had public 263, education 319, government 73, and our new HD channel 188. Studio cameras. After multiple trials with several camera setups, we've decided on the Canon, and I had put CRN 300, it's CRN 500 for correction. I put the wrong number down. These are pan, tilt, zoom cameras and pedestals to replace our studio cameras. We will now endeavor to be added to the Finance Committee agenda for approval as soon as we can. We will be in, excuse me, the Teleview video broadcast system upgrade. We will be included in the June 20th Finance Committee agenda for approval of our upgraded broadcast system, and installation will commence shortly thereafter. Now, the Old-O-Matic chamber mixer in room 208. These are a couple of updates here. We are happy to report that a new updated mixer will be installed by key code on June 27th of this month for the use in the Old-O-Matic chamber. This new mixer has enough inputs to cover our audio needs in 208 as well. As we already have the camera and equipment installed there, after this installation, we will be able to cover meetings that take place in room 208. So we're finally going to bring that up online and be able to cover meetings there. The franchise fee. Due to the fiscal year 2025 budget constraints, our split request or even discussion about it has been deferred to FY 2026. And now I pass it over to Dan Young.
Dan Young, Nashville Community Media. As you all know and remember, I had the chance to go to the National Association of Broadcast trade show in Las Vegas. I wrote out a little report here, but just to summarize, got to see an awful lot of new technology. And was able to take a very hands-on look at a lot of the PTZ cameras that are either out or coming out to help us make our decision on the Canon CRN 500s. In particular, Sony has a really nice looking offering, however, they don't have a working prototype yet. And another company called Telecam had a fairly nice looking camera as well that probably would fit the bill, but it's also not available yet, and it's also much larger of a camera that we're concerned would not fit inside the teleprompters well. Got to see a lot of other new technology, fun technology. Got to talk to a lot of the vendors and people, and I learned an awful lot. And if anybody has any further questions, feel free to chat with me after the meeting or however. So, and I encourage you all to read through it, and that's all I got. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Johnson?
Sure. Moving on to the Education Channel Committee, been obviously a busy quarter leading up to June. I have a report here for some of our accomplishments during March, April, and what's it got right? March, April, should be May. It says June. We're in June, so that's May 2024 on the list there. So I won't bore you with all of the details, but there was a lot of like North basketball made it into the state finals, which we covered over at the UNH gymnasium. Had a lot of basketball, hockey, and stuff during that time of the year. We're a little bit slower during April, but we were out covering concerts in the schools, some the National Public Health Week kickoff. Let's see, some lacrosse, other sports, just sort of leading up to what we've been doing the last few weeks here, which culminated this past Monday and Tuesday with live coverage of our Nashua North and South graduations, which happened at Stello Stadium. So we continue to try to improve our look on air. A lot of those have been airing also on our new HD channel. So that's 1073 if you have a Comcast cable box, one of the newer cable boxes. So, and I just wanted to thank Stacy as well. You know, she's been a great ally of ours. She's not a member of the CTAB officially, but the Education Channel Subcommittee is a part of CTAB, and this group does need to get a new representative. The last board representative that's supposed to meet with our channel was Kim, and that's been nearly 2 years now that she hasn't been here. So if anybody on this board is interested in serving on the Education Channel Subcommittee, please let the chair know, I guess. So we'll have to go through the board. If anybody wants to say so now, go right ahead, and maybe it could go through. But we meet about 8 times a year, most heavily during summer months, getting prepared for the new school year, and then 2 or 3 other times during the school year. So thanks once again to Stacy for her help with the Education Channel over the last 14 years or so I've been here. So
Thank you. Mr. Russell?
There was a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Dan just wanted to add something.
Sorry, Dan Young, Nashua Community Media again. One of the other accomplishments that we also took care of at the Education Channel was we covered the Nashua Community College graduation as well, which was a big affair. And then I also just wanted to say real quick on the HD channels, the numbers that are in here for live events and stuff like that, we're only programming, asterisk, we're only programming items that have been created here in Nashua. whether it's the public channel, the education channel, or government channel. So a lot of those numbers are programs that are duplicate to what would have aired on the other 3 channels as well, including the live events. So.
Okay. All right. I guess Mr. Bartis then.
Yes, thank you. For the record, Bob Bartis. National Public Television and Bartis Russell Broadcasting TV during the period of March 1st, 2024 through May 31st, 2024 on Channel 6. We ran over 3,000 shows. That was approximately just shy of 2,200 hours, of which 413 programs were first run, meaning they appeared for the first time during that time frame that I presented. We continue to work with our regular show hosts. We've added a few hosts at times in this past quarter. We brought in Miss Greater Nashua. She was competing for Miss New Hampshire, so we actually had the reigning Miss New Hampshire in studio, and Morgan interviewed a number of her candidates and constituents that she was going to compete against, one of whom won the Miss New Hampshire, and Miss Greater Nashua finished in 3rd, is my understanding. So all of the other shows continue to run during that program. We are happy to report that we continue to promote National Public Television and Channel 6 through WSMN on our website on a regular basis. You can watch National Public Television on the WSMN website. We have added a number of live cameras to the site. In addition to having Main Street North and South in the Senior Center cam, we have added a Main Street Bridge cam at the Chamber of Commerce, the Pine Street Mines Falls Park entrance, the National Public Library Riverview, and then in addition to the cameras that I've just mentioned, all of those are available on the National Public Television website, and also a link available on WSMN, so they are getting plenty of hits through that. For live shows during that time frame, we had 28 live shows, which included the solar eclipse, the Nashua Fire Rescue Promotion Ceremonies, singular, Nashua Fire Promotion Ceremony. We had Nashua Police Cone with a Cop, live from Haywards. We've had 12 hours of live coverage of the artists working for the Nashua Symposium. Mr. Russell went out, set up cameras in the morning. We've interviewed those sculptors, and we're pleased to say that we understand that now their family members from their home countries were able to watch work being done here in Nashua. Otherwise, I think we continue to do our regular programming with weekly appearances from Mayor Donchis on air, as well as representatives from the Nashua Police Department and from Chief Buxton from the Nashua Fire Rescue, AMR Director Chris Staywaz, and County Treasurer David Fredette, and VFW Post Commander Lou Chipola is also a regular on programming. Submitted.
Great, thank you. Any questions regarding the reports? Mr. Morgan?
Cole Morgan. In regards to the new cameras, just one thing to ask about those is if they're in a public space, have you guys properly disabled audio recording?
Yes.
Okay.
All of them, there's no.
At the hardware level?
Say it again?
It has to be disabled permanently.
Vice manager.
Okay, awesome.
All right. Mr. Camille?
Roni Camille, again, thank you to for all the hard work that you all do for this community. Saw Mr. Russell out at the Cone for a Cop event in pouring rain, and from a production perspective, it is very challenging. So kudos to you again for all that you do. Motion to place all reports on file.
I don't believe we need a motion because
Okay.
that's going to be the minutes for next.
Let's keep moving.
Mr. Russell?
Yeah, George Russell. I'd like to add something to the sculpture. This was something that we used to try to do on the radio for a long time, but this year I said we upped the ante. National Public Television and the Education and Government Channel, which Dan just noted, was carrying some over, but I ran into a serious technical issue with that. we lost thousands of dollars in equipment due to silica dust. And wind, because I set up outside on Pine Street, there's no internet at all, so I went out and bought a jetpack and bought the unlimited data, which I used up in 7 days, because I was trying to do this 24 hours. We had some people that were not from the country, and I said, wouldn't it be great if your family could watch it? And they did, and it worked for a while. So we were trying to do 3 or 4 hours live on TV every day in the morning, and then the equipment was just a disaster, and then the dust, boy, I'll tell you, you can't get away from it no matter how far you go. But next year it'll be better, but from my perspective, it was successful for the Sculpture Symposium because they need to raise money. And those that were in charge of it said they got a lot of views from our view, contacting them, asking them, hey, how can we support this? So it was a success, but it was a, you know, a big job to try to pull off when you're outside and you don't have any internet. You know, you have to have the internet, and it has to be rock solid to stream without having the pixels. And once I exhausted our band, they give it to you, but they throttle you down. And at that point, I watched it on TV, and it was like, and I said, I can't do this anymore. So next year, maybe a little bit better, but we really gave them a lot of exposure this year that they never had before in the past. And that is a monumental job those guys do. If you've ever seen what they do, they are Smithsonian-level sculptures. And now they're out at 3 places in the city. So it was a good event.
Very good. Anyone else? All right, we'll move on to old business. Mr. Payne had already provided an update for each of these, so we'll just go through them real quick. Any questions regarding the studio camera replacement update? All right. Any questions regarding the franchise fee split request update? Mr. Morgan.
Cole Morgan, so is this in regards to the fact that we're deferring?
Correct.
So have we, I know we've brought up a few times this discussion. I'm very vocal about wanting to increase the split. Have we looked at how the decision to push it off a year affects our long-term financials? Missing a year of potential increased revenue for CTEP?
I personally was not involved in that meeting, so I cannot answer that. Mr. Painter?
Jeff Painter. Well, yes, we have. I don't have it in front of me right now. You know, as we've looked over these last few years especially, we're going to be losing a little more next year. I think our total was $383,000 this year, so our part of the franchise fee. And next year, probably about 1.5% to 2% less, you know, according to the way it's been going. So we have looked at that. I mean, that was part of the presentation to the mayor at the time, that we wanted to discuss having a difference in the split. But so many things are happening, of course, in the budget process that it's going to be next year that something would happen, if it happens.
Cole Morgan again. Have we looked at like a run rate for the expenses to see if nothing changes when CTAB is no longer viably funded? I'm just wondering how much of an impact this could have for additional capabilities, new hardware. I mean, you just came back from NAB, you know how much things cost and how much costs are rising, and it seems like it's much faster than we're able to you know, pull in money from a shrinking cable franchise. So I'm just wondering what type of forecasting we're doing outside of just the payments we're getting, and if we see that there is, you know, do we have 8 years, 10 years before we're like actually in trouble? And
a year. About a year.
Maybe a year?
Yeah. So currently, our budget is just over 600,000, and if we're only taking in 380, we have some money in reserves, but I look at it as going to be sort of next fiscal year or bust. So
to worry.
I think we're gonna have to look at a larger than half split just to keep us going as cable, people keep dropping cable, so.
Mr. Painter?
Jeff Painter. I mean, this is no solution, but one of the things that we are doing, this whole Telview server system, it has a 7-year lifespan, and that's one of the priorities that we've had this year, because so much, I mean, the heartbeat of everything is in this system. So we wanted to make sure, as of right now, you know, that is funded, that gets replaced, everything gets upgraded, and at least we're good to go on that, on the operational end, if nothing else, for about 7 years for that. So I don't have a real answer as far as where the diminishing, you know, franchise fees are going to be. But we're trying to get this stuff done so, you know, there are certain things we won't have to worry about. It's like we're not going to worry about going black. You know?
Cole Morgan again, and this is probably my lack of city finance understanding, but from my startup business experience, you know, building a run rate and burn rate is very common. If you're raising funds, you need to know how much you have now, and then you're burned down when you're cash out. It's very, very common. So I'm just wondering if, knowing this information, is there something we should be doing now, a committee we should be forming, a discussion that should be had to plan for this, rather than just waiting for a discussion next year? I think that it's incredibly important to communicate what the city has going on, and leaving the finances to start discussions next year does seem to be probably our largest priority.
Okay. I'm going to reiterate what Andrew Sonoda mentioned at the last meeting, is we need to, you know, provide that justification. We can't just say, oh, we need more money. We need to provide that proof. And that's, you know, echoing what Mr. Morgan questioned on tonight, or today rather. So we just need to get that information assembled and go back to the administration as soon as possible, and not wait till
I believe
December
we
or
did
January.
a lot of that since our last meeting a quarter ago. A lot of that information was brought forth to the administration, so.
Okay. All right.
But I think having a separate committee, some people from this board might help as well, some people from the public, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Painter?
Yeah, Jeff Painter. Yeah, that we have, and I apologize, I don't have it in front of me, but we have come up with the list of everything that we would be needing over the next 5 to really 10 years. So, you know, and prioritized. What we're doing right now, like with the Telview, that's priority 1. But there are a lot of things that will be coming up that at least we've identified, okay, we need this within 3 years, or we need this within 4 years. So we have done that, the due diligence on that.
Mr. Cummings?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, Tim Cummings, Director of Administrative Services. A missing piece of this conversation that was relevant, I think, and something that this group should be aware of, and it's not necessarily the responsibility of this group, but it does go somewhat hand in glove with the conversation right now. And that is as to what level of service delivery, what level of programming, what is it that this community really wants and is looking for, and actually getting an understanding of that. You can then craft and develop a budget to be able to potentially deliver on those needs, or prioritize what it is that should be done, because, you know, there are limited resources. And so I say this to you because I think part of the conversation maybe is having one with the administration and the Board of Aldermen and the Board of Education as to what the expectations are, what level of broadcasting and programming and whatnot needs that we're looking to do. And then that can help inform the budget process. And so I know that was a conversation that took place over the last 6 or so weeks and a part of, I hope, a strategic planning effort that takes place. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Camille, you all set?
No
Because you
comment.
did raise your hand before.
No comments at this time, Mr.
All
Chair.
right, thank you. All right, chamber mixer and 208 update. Any questions? All right, and the Telview system update. Any questions? Mr. Russell? No.
I'm sorry. I'm way here. It's like an auction in here.
All right, on to new business. There is a note here that elections are slated for our next meeting, so I encourage everyone to attend if possible, so we can get that accomplished. And I'm going to take it up as new business of the suggestion for a subcommittee by Mr. Morgan. So let's get that on here and discuss that for next meeting as well. All right. Public comment. Mr. Leishus.
Morning. My name is Edward Leishus. I'm here representing the Education Channel on behalf of Ms. Stacy Hines. I have a letter I'd like to enter into the record on behalf of Mrs. Hines, if that is permissible.
Actually, it already has been.
Oh, well then I would just echo what she said in that letter. I was a longtime member of this committee, having served as chair and a vice chair, and I was involved in the process for hiring Mr. Johnson for the position he is in at the school department. And I can just echo and reiterate what she said. He has been a great asset, not only to the E-channel, but to the overall operation of the cable programs here in Nashua, and just express my appreciation to him as well, and thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. Any other public comment? All right, remarks by the members. Mr. Camille.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to echo the words of Mr. Cummings and Mr. Morgan. As we enter fiscal '25, we really need to do some financial forecasting, and we really need to get into the weeds to figure out what our needs are as a city for providing. This is obviously an essential service. We need to be able to figure out what's going on there so we can make this department last into, the next 5-10 years or so.
Okay. Mr. Morgan?
Cole Morgan. I think that just a general comment on what we all do here and where we're going. I think that as the cable television era continues to shrink and close, that providing access, equitable access to everyone in the city of Nashua is incredibly important. As the younger generations, grow up on TikTok and internet services, just because they don't have access to a television or because they choose to get their information from a smartphone, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't have what's going on in the city available to them. So I think it's incredibly important that we do look at the finances going forward, planning for it. What Mr. Cummings said, finding out what how the citizens would like to be communicated to, and that may look like evolving how we broadcast and communicate. I am definitely not saying that Nashua needs a TikTok, but maybe at some point. We do need to actually think about where are the eyeballs, where is the attention, what are the methods, the preferred methods, and not just preferred, but available methods of communication. And I think I don't know that, again, it's the complete purview of this board, but I believe it's probably our social responsibility in the position that we're in to think about that as we go and understand that understand if we're being effective at sharing what happens, documenting, et cetera.
Yeah.
So I'll just say that part of the Telview upgrade that we're talking about here, although we've been on the internet for a number of years, we were one of the first ones in the state to provide streaming services for a number, specifically at that time, a number of employees for the city and the school district that live out of town and wanted to be able to see the Board of Aldermen and Board of Education meetings that affected them as employees. So we've been doing that for nearly 10 years now.
At
I
least.
think. But as part of the upgrade for Telview, one of the things is going to be dedicated iOS and Android apps for cell phones. So you won't have to, log into a city website to find 3 layers down how to find the education channel. It will be available right there for people. So hopefully we're branching out and trying to reach people as we can. So,
Mr. Cummings?
Thank you. Hearing the comments this morning, and again, Tim Cummings, Director of Administrative Services, just a logistical issue I want to clarify or ask a question about, which is, I believe this group only meets quarterly.
Correct.
And so if you put it on the subcommittee, if you put it on the agenda for the next subcommittee meeting, that's September? And then you meet again after that, it's December? And then we're going into the next fiscal year. So I don't know what the pleasure of this body is, but I would just want to kind of tease out and make the point that you may need to meet more often, either as this larger group or as this subcommittee, if you're going to have this strategic conversation, to be prepared before we start rolling into budget season next spring. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, is there a motion? Ms. McCormick?
Move to adjourn.
Motion is to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, motion passes. Meeting's adjourned at 9:11 a.m.